Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of our Koki Otaku. Today with us, we have a very special guest. He voices Badigadi from Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, Viscount Mueller from Sasaki and Peeps, ever so adorable, Peeps, Tom from Dragon Ball Super, Hewitt from Metallic Rouge, Leonhart from Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts. And honestly, the list keeps on going because it is very long. But without any further ado, please give it up for Ray Hurd. Woo!
Oh. Probably put this right on my face.
Ray, thank you so much. I think we have like a 40 minutes to figure out the lineup of all your characters that we're going to talk today, because there's so many great characters. It's so hard to choose which of them.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I do my best with every performance, and I'm glad that there are people that really, enjoy it and really appreciate it. So yeah, most definitely. Thank you.
Let's start with the one that Kira mentioned, Sasaki MP. One of the latest series that was a surprise for us in the lineup of spring 2024, if I'm not wrong. With Sasaki MP, you have the character of Viscount Mueller. Did I say it right?
Yes, it's Viscount Mueller. Yes, that story is it's a pretty cool story and interesting as a whole. I mean, I'm sure the audience knows it, but my part as Viscount Mueller, he's just more or less he's very intelligent and cunning and crafty. He's got these tricks up his sleeve, and if anybody's been really following, and I don't want to, I guess, put any spoilers out there, but spoil it. I'll spoil it.
3 weeks ago.
You find out how deceptive he can be when dealing with his enemies by his so-called death and the death of his family and all. It's like there were members of his family that appeared to be that had died, and he did this whole thing to trick everyone into believing that his kingdom was weakened and all of these things. The kingdom that he works with was weakened, and his part of it was in disarray. And then he comes back in the battle at the end, and then you find out he's really alive, and he had just fooled everyone. He's a cool character. He's very reserved, and I, believe it or not, I did my to the voice that I picked for him was it was similar to a narration. I did an audiobook or late last year that I finished late last year, and it was really long, really arduous, but it was a good book. And the voice that I picked for the main character, he was an older version of himself, was like a Sidney Poitier, my best Sidney Poitier impersonation. And for those who know, the renowned Sidney Poitier actor, a silver screen actor, and he. So when I did it, I had to, but I didn't want to go full Sidney, so I had to find this form of intelligence that I had to speak from. But he needed to be not only intelligent, but he had to have pure sound, and all of his intentions would come out almost English in the way that he spoke, but not English. So yeah, like British English. But yeah, that was the voice I came up with that, and that was a lot of fun figuring that thing out, because we had to do it on the fly, which a lot of the voices, believe it or not, are that way. And I'm fortunate that they trust me enough to let me, I've proven to them over the course of the years that I can do all of these different characters. So that particular character, he was he needed to sound regal, and but the difficulty with that is getting that sound and then doing all of those tough words. They have a tough collection of words that they put together for some of these characters, and he's one of them. And it's like, and I found out that they pick me for these characters that have difficult dialogue because, fortunately I have pretty good diction, and I've been told this by the director, so it's not me just saying, oh, well, but it's like I have pretty good diction, and I'm pretty good at putting complex sentences together and making them make sense, even when sometimes they don't. So they're like, oh yeah, get Ray Hurd to do it. We need somebody with a heavy voice or somebody that can pull off this regal character, with this, great way of speaking. And so, yeah, sometimes those words they're tongue twisters. It's like, it makes me appreciate all the years I spent learning, red leather, yellow leather, and black background, brown background, and all of that. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll tell my students that. I said, yeah, because I do teach voiceover. And so I'm like, yeah, you got to get good enough to learn the 6 benevolent elephants. And they're like, what is the 6 benevolent elephants? I said, well, the 6 benevolent elephants stood up on the balcony, mimicking him, hiccuping, and amicably welcoming him in. And they were like, oh. So, yeah,
And tongue twister is a tongue twister.
Yeah.
I must say that, oh my gosh, that voice, everything you said just hit the nail on the head, because every time Viscount Mueller speaks, he does sound very regal. He does sound like he has like a lot of knowledge. And what you said about the accent, not accent, that to sound like kind of foreign, because it is an isekai. It's like, yes, all of this, yes. And I remember the first time Viscount Mueller appeared on screen, I was like, this sounds so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the director is really cool, and she, we kind of worked it out together, and she was like, yeah, I like it. That's good. And so we stuck with it, and I was like, okay. And then when I finally figured it out, then we went back and then re-recorded all their previous lines, and then got it together to make sure it was all right. And so, yeah, the team that works on that is awesome too. And so, yeah, they, it is a team effort. We're not. I'm providing the voices, but our audio engineers and directors, they have to. The directors especially have to pull the best out of us, and then the audio engineers, especially when we make hiccups and mistakes, they have to. They got a lot of work to do to fix all that stuff and keep track of everything, and they're doing it on the fly. So it's like real time, really fast, and yeah. So figuring that voice out, it's like, okay, now he's got to go back and edit everything and then fix it. It's like, okay, but they do it, and it came out really good. So yeah, I'm glad everybody likes it, because I enjoy doing it.
And many people underestimate the technical skill in Sasaki and Peeps, because the Sasaki and Peeps have everything: half political, half magical girls, half isekai both direction, half economy, half war technical, half parenthood, half family, half everything you can add to a series. So in series, the crew, the team, they care about how a character play their roles, so you can see all the change of a scenario happening at the same time. Otherwise, you're going to have a big buffet where everything tastes the same.
Right.
And that's kind of boring. So yeah. So moving on.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I was just gonna say, yeah, the cast of this show is really cool. We had a rap party, and I posted that and put a lot of stuff out on that stuff. And you guys can follow me too at Ray Hurd voice_actor or Ray Hurd voiceover. And all my social medias are generally the same. But as soon as you put in Ray Hurd, I don't think it's a lot of Ray Hurds out there. So yeah, it makes it easier to find. But yeah, we everybody that was involved, from Aaron Lusk. I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong. Her name wrong. Aaron Lundquist. That's her name. Aaron Lundquist. She's Peeps. And, Tyson Reinhardt. Yeah, they were cool. So I got to hang out with them. And from the when we did the rap party, and so we went out to Dallas and had a really good time. And because in this business, we don't all get to see each other. So one of us will come in and do the job, and then the other person will come in. And a lot of times, I was coming in before anybody and reading first. So all of the stuff was in the original Japanese. And then a lot of what we do as voice actors is that we and this is kind of a backroom thing that I'm showing you guys. But what we do is we have to translate. We have to not only translate it into English, but in such a way where culturally the American audience can really receive it. And so the words and all have to not just translate into English, but they also have to be said in a way that our inflections would match the Americans' way of seeing things. Mm-hmm. So it is a cultural it's a culture clash in some ways, but then also, there's a method in which we have to turn it around so it makes sense to the English speaking audience, if that makes sense.
Definitely. And moving on from a serious, powerful figure to a powerful figure, not so serious. Talking about
Badigadi.
Badigadi.
In Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, who Badigadi is funny to say the least. I'm gonna leave that to you, Ray. And if you need some help, we are more than willing to jump in for you.
Yeah, Badigadi is an interesting character. He is a god, and I guess kind of obviously, but he's just in case there was somebody thinking he was a mutant, but no, he's a god. But he's interesting because he's got a lot. There's a lot going on with him. There's still details that are coming out that even I don't know. So like, he's got this past with the main character, and there was a whole lot of there was a war that had happened between one set of people and his people, and the main character doesn't really know about all of these things. So of course Ben Phillips plays, I believe, the former self of the main character, and then there's and Madeline Morris, I believe she does the standard voice, the speaking voice of the young character. And so there's this whole past that these characters have that the main character doesn't know anything about. So it's just Badigadi's kind of playing. He almost looks like he's playing both sides. So it's interesting to see how it's all going to turn out. But right now, I mean, I think he really does. I believe he really does have the best interests of all the characters involved, their best interests at heart. But he definitely knows more than what he's telling everybody. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I like the battle that Reyes, I think, and Body have, and he's just
the beginning.
Yeah, the very first battle they have, and he's just. I really didn't know how to come at him at first, and so the director is he's a buddy of mine. I'm trying to remember his name right now, but it will come to me. But I'm looking right at him. Jeremy Inman. I'm so sorry. So Jeremy, if you've seen this, forgive me. I've got a lot on my mind. It's been crazy. I haven't had a whole lot of rest, but Jeremy Inman directs it, and Body was I had to do this big laugh and this big whole thing, and it was just I like that, but it's a very energetic character, so there's a lot you have to bring to him when you talk with him, or talk for him. He's just, and then I didn't want him to sound. See, my other big boisterous character, which I know we'll talk about, is Toppo from Dragon Ball Super. And the hard part was trying to make him not sound like Top. Because Top is, really big and way up, really loud. So, and so he's, laugh with me, boy, so I had to find this other sound to play that character where I didn't, veer off from the Top world. And they're like, yeah, it's the same voice, So yeah, I don't want to be like the voice of Archer or Bob's Burgers. He's the same. He uses the same voice.
Yeah,
both characters. But he's got this, now iconic voice where he's doing the pigeon on a Progressive commercial. He's doing all these other things, but his voice is just like he's the same guy. It's the same guy. Yeah, see, you didn't know that.
No wonder. Yeah, I was like, I was like, that pigeon sounds familiar. Yeah,
it's
okay.
Archer and Bob from Bob.
Okay, that makes sense.
Same guy.
By the way, Ray, you touched on a point I wanted to talk about, which was the laugh. Badigadi has a very, very distinct laugh, and he has such a hearty laugh throughout every single episode. When you're doing these laughs, do you have retake, or does it just come naturally to you?
Oh no, I'm naturally very loud anyway. So, I have relatives that like to say I'm just country. And so I'm like, well, so my voice is already reminds me of I had a teacher, a math teacher, in my senior year in high school, and she was like, Ray, you can't whisper, just so don't try. It's like so my natural tone is really loud anyway. So laughing and all, that part does come natural. Now I still have to put a lot of effort into it for this character, but yeah, it's like it's big open mouth, hearty laughs. So yeah, he is, but not too much different than me. No, but it is bigger than my natural laugh. So yeah, he's just, he's like that. So yeah, I just have to put more energy into it. But yeah, but it's fun doing it though. That's for sure.
I love that character. It's so fun. Last episode that I just watched.
Yeah.
The important people. He made it late to the party, and they're like, "Oh my god, right. Important people make it late," and I'm like, "Yep."
Right. And you know what else I like? I like the fact I like his attitude because he is always having fun. Like no matter where he is, no matter what the situation is, he's always having a good time. It's like, well, hey, smile. Like he tells the main character, he's like within that fight. He's like, laugh with me, boy. It's like, it's okay. Let's chill out. And it's like, I'll let you get the first hit. And then after that, I'll hit you back. If you get me, then, you win or whatever. And then I'll just, but I think I don't think he told him he was going to hit him back. I think he just said, I'll let you get the first hit. And if you knock me down, you win. And then afterwards, just like, now I get my lick back. But yeah, it's, he's a fun character in that regard. I mean, the party is definitely wherever he is. And then I like the fact that he's got these big flexing arms in the back the whole time. He's got his regular arms and he's got these other arms that are like that. He's just always in flex mode, So I think that's just hilarious.
And can you imagine just getting a pat on the back from Badigadi and you're just like on the other side of the wall?
Yes, right.
Well, we'll get a pat on the back.
He's not just big, he's a god. So it's like he's got all this immense power. So yeah. And I appreciate that they can hire they hire me for a lot of those roles because they do want the big sound and I already have it. So they're like, okay, well, yeah, let's do him. Because for a long time, I only was hired as like just bad guys, just a string of bad guys. And they were like, well, in anime, most of the bad guys have heavy voices. I could see it's the same can be said for a lot of American cartoons too. Mm-hmm. But I mean, unless, you're saying Cobra Commander or something like that, like those guys, they were, way up here. They sounded real sinister and stuff. So, but mine, I played a lot of bad guys for a long time. And so I was like, well, I can do more stuff, So I had to really prove to them that, yeah, I got all these other things I know how to do and I can bring my register way up. So Chris Sabat taught me that about lightening my voice, or at least he gave me the advice. And so I had to learn to do it, but he gave me some of the best advice in that regard. So yeah.
But he gotta have a lesson in life. Like he smile, whatever situation. That's a skill. That's something many of us we should learn to enjoy the moment. He's like trying to find the beauty in any second. So
right.
That's a skill that would definitely. And moving on, you just mentioned your other character on Dragon Ball Super, Top. So who's Top in the Dragon Ball saga franchise? Because it's so big that something can.
Right. Yeah, it's similar to One Piece, but it's probably still not as long, even though it's been around longer. But but Super. It's at the very end of Super, which I'm sure everybody knows now. But Top was he is a very powerful special forces, so to speak, in another universe, numbered because they're all numbered, and his is number 11, in the 11th universe. And so he runs a battalion of special troopers called the Pride Troopers. And he's their leader, their fearless leader, and he's got this big Wilford Brimley looking mustache. For those who remember that, guy used to do the diabetes commercials, and he has that same type of mustache, and he kind of Thundercatish looking, but portly, but it's just like, even though he's big, it's obvious it doesn't doesn't affect his movement at all. He's very powerful. And then you find out later he has a whole nother mode, a whole nother transformation he can go through, and he becomes this what they call God mode, because they have these, just like in Dragon Ball Z, you have different tiers of powerful beings, and some are gods, and then others are, like on close, not a mortal level, but like just above, and then you got mortal, and so he's like in that in between, and then when he goes God mode, he's super powerful. And so, yeah, it was, he's a very noble character, full of pride. I usually describe him as like me to the 10th power. Like if I was just wore my pride on my sleeve and right up on my chest everywhere I went. And, and he's just way up here, hopefully I'm not peeking, but yeah.
No, you're not.
It'll be, he's super, he is just what it's called, super. He is definitely that guy. So he's the most energetic character I have to play.
Really?
More than Badigadi. Like Badigadi is very energetic, and it does take me a little bit more to play him, but he does have these calm lulls that he'll go through, where he's like, not really calm, but much calmer. He's like, well, let's see. He's like, he'll have these, hem-ha moments where he's just, thinking about it and looking and whatever. When he's saying something, he's saying it big, but a lot of times he has those moments. Top doesn't have those moments, really. Top is like, he's on.
Over the
like
top.
Now. Yeah, I mean, and that's the voice, believe it or not, when I go to conventions, that's the voice I primarily talk in, because the conventions are so big that I need to be able to grab people's attention. And I'm like, you there, are you seeking to be a future Pride Trooper? We need good soldiers like you, Top is just that way, you know what I'm saying? So they just, they freak out, and they know that they know who that is, or even if they don't, they really fall in love with the voice, and they're like, oh, he sounds fun. So, and that's Top, he has a way of drawing you in, with his nobility and the way that he, believes in what he's saying, and he makes you believe. So, I love that about that character.
I'm curious. When you said you mentioned in conventions, and you're doing that voice, are you doing it without a microphone or with a microphone?
Yeah, without a microphone. It would be better with a microphone. But I'm doing it without a microphone. Yeah, I'm half hoarse every time I come back home, because I'm always.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
but I can just imagine just me as a random passerby, and then just hear that voice. I'm like, what is that? I gotta check it out.
Right. You there with the glasses. Come. Join us today. And then I tell people too. Right. The 11th universe needs people like you. And it's like, I said, one of these days I'm going to get a banner. Because, I play 3 military men. I play
Selkie
Top of Dragon Ball Super, so he's a space military man. Selkie of My Hero Academia, which is a literal Navy SEAL. And then another Navy man, Admiral Kizaru in One Piece. So it's like, and I said, I'm going to get like 2 posters, and then each of them going to have him looking like Uncle Sam. And it's like, I want you. And he's pointing at people. It's like, I want you to join this, enjoy it. So yeah, I thought that would be pretty cool. I got to get a couple of those and just do little pipe and drape type things. I'm going to carry them with me. But I think those would be some cool banners to have up. It's like, we need you to join, either the Navy with Kizaru, or, the Navy with Sasaki, or, the Pride Troopers. So.
And you know what's funny? Yeah, I know it's a little off topic, but you already brought it up. We've talked about this before to like other people, where the actual U.S. military is using anime to help incentivize people to sign up, and
really?
Especially anime waifus. Let's be very specific there.
Seriously.
It used to be pinup girls, and now it's anime waifus.
You go to TikTok.
I need to see where this is. I need to see this. I've never heard of that. No, I did not know.
Yeah, look in TikTok. Look at in a lot of places. There's actually official posters, especially for the Navy, with anime, and we're like, oh, that's really interesting.
That I will have to see. That's crazy. I didn't know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the first I've ever heard of that. That is crazy. So they use it with waifus. I mean, I'm trying to see the connection. I'm trying to understand the connection. It's like, I mean, are you defending your waifu? You know what I mean? Yeah, I gotta see what that is. That's crazy.
I struggle so much with the raid in Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico culture in anime is still still a taboo. It's still look like a challenge. So behind Puerto Rico culture in that part.
Wow.
And the radio station, when I kind of active when I speak, many times like, oh, so you forget about anime? They try to treat me like childish, immature, and I hear it's like, Jesus Christ. This guy doesn't understand. Even the military have a lot of waifu. They're fan of anime. They're not talking about the pinup girls any longer. It's anime centralized. And even you go to the anime convention, you're going to see the Go Army team or Go Navy, and they're not just like bringing people to recruit them. They're like speaking with people about anime series 2. So I'm like, guys, can you just see the reality to this day already?
You'll see these very big, large military trucks. They'll either put obstacle courses or just things that they actually use in the military there. And you see all the branches actually come into these conventions hoping to recruit people. And then they have a list. Yes. Yeah. And people will actually I am not kidding. People will actually show up and they'll have a list of people they've put their names down and things like that. I'm guessing to obviously talk to them some more, but and you'll see a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm gonna show off like my muscles or my prowess or whatever, and then they'll go next to the military guys and just they'll start like showing up, and it's really fun to watch.
Wow. No, I've never seen that. I've been to quite a few conventions, but I've never seen it. I don't know if that's the right crowd to pick for trying to bring into the military that kind of way. It's like, these are like regular people. You know what I mean? I mean, they're trying to have fun and be cool. I don't know if that's one.
They have it.
I'm telling you, we see
people.
For me, the best thing like a bar that you see a person, a guy or a girl as a waifu doing the pull up, and they're here like, damn.
Oh, that's what it is. So that's how they're drawing them out. That's so funny.
They're having fun. Trust me. But talking about military,
I run into that.
So let's move to your next military character. Talking about Selkie. Selkie.
Yeah, Selkie. Literal Navy SEAL. Yeah, that was the first character that I actually was able to do a character voice for. Like everybody else, they sounded really close to me, so it was like they just were like they would tell me. I was secretly doing characters anyway, so they would tell me, oh, just use your speaking voice. That's good. Just be this bad guy or whatever. You're this demon lord or something. And it's like, just your voice. So I was like, no, get away. But, I'd always do some extra. But Selkie, I looked at him and I was like, how would a Ciel man sound? And I just had to I looked at the character and just thought maybe it's a little gravel in his voice. And, then it goes up a little bit from where my voice is. And maybe if I push my teeth out, my bottom teeth, like that, then before I know it, I add some happy to him. And I think I got it, and then that's when I developed that's how I developed that voice. So just looking at him and picking him apart in that kind of way. And then before I knew it, bam, it's like, oh, I'm so cute, so all of that stuff was a part of it. It is a real character breakdown, to develop those voices. So that was how I got Selkie. And so they were like, and Colleen Carroll did that directed me on. Well, actually, I don't think she did the first one. I think she directed me in the second episode. But that's what it was. The first episode, I cannot remember who directed me on that one, but it was really good and a lot of fun. And they trusted me to do it. They were like, okay, you've been with us long enough, and that actually sounds pretty good. So yeah, we'll let you have that. And then after that, I was just I was able to do characters left and right. But he is just what he sounds like. He is a literal Navy SEAL. He runs his portion of the Navy on the seas of My Hero Academia's world. And Frappy, I forget the other character. Frappy is like a frog girl. and she has a friend that works with her. They pretty much stay together as a tag team, so to speak, at least while they're with Selkie. And they whenever they ran into any problems or trouble, Selkie would jump in and save the day. So I mean, they held their own pretty good, but when it got too serious for them, Selkie comes in and he uses all his really cool abilities to save the day. But he can swim really fast. He's pretty strong, and he's got sonar abilities that he can use. He does that. Oh, that's because I had to do that real sound, that he was doing. They were like, "Can you make that sound?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." And so and that's another thing that they've been part of our audition process, or the audition process for Crunchy, is they have us not all the time, but at some point they'll give out animal sounds, let you do them. I did all those sounds, and it still didn't pick me up for any of that stuff. Not that I was really looking for it either. It's like, well, I did it in case they need it. But they found out that I could do a lot of different animal sounds. And I mentioned before we started that I've done an actual cat, like a house cat, a giant house cat. But yeah, it was, so I'm nothing purring, meowing, and all that stuff. So I guess those clicks from Selkie helped.
About one of those cats, talking about we're going to the Beauty and the Beast with the Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts, which are the main character of Leonhart.
Yeah, that was my first lead. Yes, that character I am most proud of all the characters I've done. I enjoy those other characters, and I have favorite. I do have a favorite, but Leonhart is the one I'm most proud of, because that was probably the hardest to get. And that's the one that opened up the door for me to get Viscount Mueller and characters like that, because he's not only a king, he's a regal king, and he is very, he's very considerate with his words. He has very good pronunciation, and which is crazy because he's got these big saber teeth coming out his mouth. So it's like you have to account for that while still getting your point across. And so that was not an easy voice to do. And once I got it down, it became easy for me. But normally I could never do the voice, in an open setting. Like, I can do it here, but this would be probably one of the few places that I could, because I'm actually in a sound studio and I'm talking on a microphone, and it's low enough for me to do. But I got that voice from a combination of three people, and that's three people, two of which as characters they played. So the first would be James Earl Jones as King Jaffe Joffer in the movie Coming to America. So, my son works. He was this, I'm talking to my son. He
has such an iconic voice.
So he was like, he'd be like, Hakeem, come, please speak with me. So, that's the, James Earl Jones part. And then afterwards, I added Yul Brynner from his character as Ramses in the old Cecil B. DeMille's Ten Commandments movie. And so Yul Brynner was an ethnic Russian. So he'd be like we talked a little about Afro-Japanese, he would be like Afro-Russian, but they don't call it that. They call them ethnic Russians. So he's a darker skinned Russian, and he has a slight Russian accent, but it doesn't come through as typically that way. It comes more across as just exotic, but he's still, American English, and says what he has to say. So I took that and his regal nature and the way that he played Ramses with that sound, and then I coupled that with King Jaffe Joffer, and then Orson Welles' natural speaking voice and the way that he spoke. And Orson Welles is you remember Beast from the X-Men? They brought him back for X-Men 97, but he sounds a little different. The original Beast in the X-Men in the 90s, he had a way of talking, and it was very similar to Orson Welles. But Orson Welles talks really fast. So he says many of his words and puts them together in such a way where his diction is good. And he says what he has to say, but he gets it across in such a way where you need to understand that it's ultimately the way that you're thinking that's wrong. And so I was like, okay, so now how do I put all that together? And then I had to add this growl because he's the king and he's this beast. The beasts won't respect him if he talks like a regular man. So I'm putting that way of speaking together with this growl, and then it brings it down lower. Before I know it, I'm seeing things in such a way that it gets the point across. And so, suddenly, returning to me. And so the teeth are still in there too. So he's got this, whole thing, and it's like, if you be with me, I will be with you. So it's almost a whisper. And so people would come into the studio. Jonathan Rigg directed me on that, and our audio engineer Jay, he was cool, and he did a lot of the work on the audio work. And they would come in and they would just stand in there and just listen. When I first heard the playback on it, I was like, did you guys run me through some kind of filters, or is that me? And they were like, no, that's you. and everybody would tell me the only thing they added extra to was the roar. I'm roaring, but they'll add extra to that. Other than that, all of the vocals for the voice work is me. And that really surprised me. So I was like, okay, we did something really right on this. And so that was put together really well. Emilo plays Sarifi, and that whole story was really good because, of course, I call it, it's basically Beauty and the Beast. It's basically what it is. It is. It's Beauty and the Beast, but it's the anime Beauty and the Beast. And that's what I'll tell a lot of the people that, a lot of the fans that come up. And I'm like, yeah, if they haven't seen it, especially the ladies, I'll be like, hey, you should check it out. I said, they got stuff in there for the guys too, because eventually they have a beast battle and you're going to love it. I said, but it's definitely a love story. And for those who don't know, the Sacrificial Princess is Sadafi. She's brought in. There's this beast is not like the Disney beast where he's running away from humanity and he's living in this castle, or like the old Ron Perlman beast with Linda Hamilton in the early 90s. They had Beauty and the Beast, and he was living under the streets of New York, hiding from people. No, he has his own kingdom, and there's this peace treaty between he and the humans, his kingdom and the humans, and they send a sacrificial princess. They call her a princess, but she's really not. She represents, okay, I'll take that back. She's called the Sacrificial Princess because of what she becomes. She becomes a princess, queen consort. But she comes from she's the sacrifice sent from the humans, and they send one every 10 years to appease the Beast Kingdom. And so the Beast King gets to basically destroy her, and it's like, okay, well, that's, and then they keep their peace between the humans. So one sacrifice every 10 years. So they groom these sacrificial women to come in and do that. But come to find out, it wasn't to keep from spoiling everything. There's a twist to that whole thing. It's not quite as it seems in terms of the way the king operates, and reluctantly he falls in love with Sadafi, and now they have to deal with the fact that she is the beast, a human in the Beast Kingdom that was not destroyed, and there's a lot of political intrigue. It's similar to what you were talking about with Saskia and the Peeps Sonics, where it's there's a lot of politics involved. There's a lot of right and wrong issues. How do I handle this? It's a lot of prejudice issues they're dealing with, and it's more so that than anything. Just lack of understanding. One, people seeing you this way, and you're trash, and we're better than you, and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just, fighting through that. Like, how do they deal with that conflict, trying to bring both worlds together? It's very interesting, the way that they handle it. And then the king has a greater secret that you find out about later. And it's a matter of fact, you find out in the second episode. first or second episode. So they throw a lot at you early, and it's like, well, how do they deal with that? So yeah. It's a lot of really interesting things with this story. I didn't mean to get you guys totally quiet, but that's
Oh, that's great. I mean,
Honestly, I'm listening to it and I'm just like, okay, I don't know if Onyx had it to the list. If Onyx had it in our list, we're watching this for sure.
yeah, it's worth it. The first season ended last year, before the end of last year.
Even better.
Yeah, it's all available on the Crunchyroll app now.
And I say even better because Onyx is the one who put. So I'm the type of person who I actually like to watch an anime once it's actually like the entire season is dubbed.
Right.
Because I don't like to stop. I just like to go one after the other after the other.
Right.
Because if I stop, I'm not going to remember to go back to watch it.
Okay.
Or like Onyx does, like he'll put, well, we got to watch these because they are airing now. So we'll watch one, we'll watch another. Something happens in life and then we'll stop. And I'm like, in my mind, oh, I finished watching the season. And Onyx is like, no, you're missing like the last episode or last two episodes. I'm like, I saw we finished. Like, no. I'm like,
No,
this is why I can't do this. I have to watch them all together.
Right. Yeah. But the binge era is great in that regard. Yeah, because we can just stream this stuff and then see it all. But yeah, and then now with Crunchyroll being in charge, everything is simulcast. So the Japanese will air, and then the next week, the American version will air, the English dub version. So we're coming in back to back. Like I am in the office there at least once a week, as a result, most of the time. So I wasn't in this week, I think, because of so much. Well, no, I think I was. I went in Monday. And then I'm in again on next Monday. So, and they try to squeeze as much of this they can, out of me in those days to try to get a lot of the things that need to be done. So, when Sasaki and the Peeps is wrapped, so that's over. The Sacrificial Princess, that ended, and it was, I was kind of sad when that ended. I was like, oh man, this is, we didn't know if it was, we don't know still whether or not it's coming back. So, it's one of those types of things. Sasaki and the Peeps, I'm pretty sure he is coming back. But yeah, that one, we don't know at all. So, it's kind of like it's up in the air. So we're definitely hoping, because there's a lot that they could still deal with and dive into, and there's I don't want to give any spoilers away, but there's a lot that they can still deal with. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. So yeah, when you check it out, you'll see what I mean. And then when you see that beast battle that finally happens, there's a whole story with that. I'll tell you this much: we recorded it, and after I listened to it, they did the playback on it, and I was like, "Nah, man, there should be more sound effects. There's way more that we're missing on it." So I started, "No, let me add this and that." And Jonathan really trusts me, so he was like, "Okay, well, cool." So he goes back in, and I'm biting my hand to try to get that gnawing sound effect, and I'm doing all this extra stuff, and growling. There should be a slash there, and she's there, and so we add this stuff in, and so they had to call the other actor back in to play that played Fenrir, and get him to add to his lines. They were like, "Oh man, that was so much better." So I was glad they'd given me the liberty to tweak those things. And Jonathan and I he's worked with me on Blue Lock, on this, and a bunch of other stuff. He trusts my judgment, and he's gotten to know me so well that I just defer to him on some things. He'll tell me. He's almost in my mind. He's like, "Oh no, you forgot to add that beast flair you normally do in this line." And so there are certain words that I say. You'd be surprised. Like on Twitter, they were putting this stuff up because as the king, I would roll my R's. Or say certain things. I think the word was robust, and I was like, I've never tasted such a robust, wine or brandy. And they were like, oh, and somebody put on Twitter, like, I live for that R.
Yes, thank you. 'Cause I actually love when actors do that, when they're trying to like get all regal, even when they're not, and they roll their R's. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, because one thing I did learn is that in British English, they actually make it a point to learn to roll their R's, whereas in
Yeah.
American English, we just say it from like the back of the throat. And I'm
Right.
like, guys, roll your R's.
Yeah. Well,
But
because,
you know what, right?
English, yeah, it's the lazy.
You know what, right? You know what? Let's talk about how do you come into this world? Like how into the world of anime, I mean.
Yeah, that's well,
Let me
that's
rephrase
great, yeah.
that. Let me
Mom and my dad, and
Into
Long
the
time
world of
ago.
anime.
There were these two people.
They love each other so much.
Yes, they loved each other so much they decided to marry. And so yeah. That is people ask me that question, boy, I'm like, man. So I try to give the condensed version, but I went to I started out in radio school, and then I began doing podcasting before it was called podcasting. We were in a room called the Fishbowl, we called it, and it was the American Broadcasting School was the school I'd gone through. And when doing the podcasts, it was called back then Worldwide Internet Radio. That tells you how long ago this was. And it was
I heard about this.
okay. So yeah, it was interesting to do and play, and I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do. I'd always wanted to be a voice actor, but I didn't know it wasn't a clear-cut path. So I'd done a lot of other things, played sports, and looked like that was the goal, or that was the key, mainly I was either going to be making semiconductors for Intel, because at the time New Mexico Intel was in New Mexico. Well, they're still in New Mexico, but they had a plant that they had just opened up in the late 90s. So they were like, okay, well, we need some guys we're going to hire like 5,000 people here in Texas, and then the rest in New Mexico. And so then they decided at the last minute, no, we're just hiring them all in New Mexico. So what I was doing was taking like business courses, and that helped. That ended up being very helpful for what I'm doing now. So I'm like, God definitely has a plan for us all. I was just like, I didn't know what it was for me. So I was like, okay, so I'm enjoying this business stuff. Intel doesn't work out. Now I'm already playing sports, and so I get a scholarship to go play football, and wanted to play basketball. That didn't work out. We had the winningest team in the state. Coach Shardy had his team put together, and they had their 6'9" guy. I'm 6'10", by the way. He's when I ran into him as an adult.
Oh, it's nothing, just 6'10".
Well, he said, well, I say that because he was 6'9", and now, granted, I was maybe 6'1", right? Okay, I wasn't even that. I was 6 feet tall, 5'11", 6 feet, and I'm looking up at him because we almost get into a fight my freshman year, and I'm looking up at him like Rocky versus Drago, And so he later I run into him after high school, and he's like Huron. I'm like, you're not 6'9".
Wait. So you mean to tell me in freshman year you're like 5'11", 6 feet, and then boom, by the end you're like 6'10"?
Well, it's 4 years. It's 4 years.
But still, that's a lie. I get your poor mother was just like feeding the child.
Yeah, trying to keep up with us. Yeah, she used to tell us all the time, me and my brother, she's like, well, whatever you do, you need to make plenty of money for doing whatever it is that you do, because you guys, when I met my wife, they were like, the first question she asked her was, do you know how much he eats? And I was like, really? But yeah, so it's that happened. All that stuff happened, and it was just like, getting pulled from one direction to the other and trying to figure things out. So I was put in a situation at some point or another where I did the broadcasting stuff, but I had more fun doing the commercials than I did doing the radio related things. And so I was like, okay, so I have all this radio training. I'm doing some of the work. I'd done a few commercials. I had done podcasting, and it was like, okay. And so it was more or less like, all right, well, I've tried all this stuff, and it just doesn't seem to be panning out. So back to the real world. But what I did do is I made a demo during that time that I would be submitting to radio stations and things like that. And so years and years later, probably about, what's that, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So, it was like 9. So yeah, like 9 years later, I started considering, going into acting. And so I went to the Jubilee Theater of Fort Worth, the legendary Jubilee Theater in Fort Worth, and Fort Worth, Texas, that is. And so that was really good for the acting side of things, because I tell people that want to break into this business, you need to know how to act. We're voice actors. Voiceover is a thing. It's its own thing, but we are voice actors. So we bring a performance to it, It's like, regardless of how you feel that day, you might be a little under the weather, but your character may be really bubbly and has to have a lot of energy. And that's what you have to be. You have to be on, or you need to feel something to make this connection, right? So it's because that's what it's about. I mean, most voice acting is not like anime is a little different. Most voice acting is about making connections. So if I'm doing a truck commercial, I'm trying to talk to you in such a way where it's like it's a person to person, really man to man type thing, and it's like, okay, well, you're sitting here today, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. But you got that truck outside, and that truck is going to get you everywhere you need to go. You know what I mean? It's that sort of type of thing. It's like I need to make a connection with you. So I do a whole lot of different types of voice work, but that's I take those the acting skills that I have from that and apply it to anime, because a lot of the people that I learned from, they were the people that were voicing characters back in the 90s and the 80s, and those characters seemed really lifelike. And the reason why was because these were like theater-trained actors, theater-trained performers, and they had this liveliness about them. So when they did the characters, they did them like real people. You know what I mean? And so they so when they had this real grounded way of approaching the characters, and so I adopt that and put that in my anime characters, and that really has helped me a lot. And so moving forward from all of the other things that had happened to me with the radio stuff and the 9-year difference, I finally got to a point to where I had to really sit down and consider what I can do from home, because my youngest daughter was disabled. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't do a whole lot of different things. I got to do something from the house. And so I found a man that became my mentor, Bill DeWeese. He had the largest library of content, of voiceover content on the web. And so I was like, okay, so I spent a whole year studying everything I could get my hands on, all the stuff that he had put out. And I'd already known I knew how to be an announcer, and I knew how to speak as an announcer and how to present as an announcer, but I didn't know how to be a voice actor, where, and that's when I started learning the differences. And I already had a demo, and I had been looking for Funimation's submission page, and I was like, how do you do this stuff, And so I found out that they had a really hard to find email address that you could contact them. And so I found it, and then I submitted to them, sent them my demo and a nice little letter explaining who I was and what skills I had. And then 3 months passed by, I heard nothing. So I said, okay, I'm going to submit again. So I did. And 3 more months passed by, and then finally the 6th month, they responded. They were like, well, we'd like you to come in and do an audition for us. And so we have this open audition. So I come in, and they have all these characters in this binder. And so I open it up, and I'm looking through, and I'm like really nervous, trying to figure it out, because this is my first one like this, for an actual, cartoon character or an anime. It's like, okay, so I see all of these characters, which I find out later were characters in Fairy Tail. And so I auditioned for all these other characters, right? And but one character I did audition for was the one that I got. And I was aiming for some of the other characters, but I ended up getting Azuma. And Azuma was my very first character. And that was my best Kevin Conroy impersonation, basically. So I'm basically doing I'm doing Kevin Conroy. I'm not doing Kevin Conroy as Batman. I'm doing Kevin Conroy. So as close to, his natural speaking voice as I possibly could. So I was like, and so that's one of Azuma's lines is, I don't have time for cats or children. And so, I'm pushing that, and they were like, oh, yeah, that's great. We're going to bring you in for this character. And so that year I played Azuma. Secondly, I played Admiral Kizaru from One Piece, and two other characters that escape me at the moment, but they were all pretty major characters. And I broke a record that year because back then Funimation didn't let you really perform more than one character, maybe two in a year. And I did 4. So it was like, oh man. So I was breakthrough voice actor of that year. And I beat out a whole bunch of people. And I was like, oh wow, this is crazy, for that award. And so I got contacted by the company, and they were like, hey, how does it feel being this award winner, and all. And so I was like, I don't know. I didn't know I won anything. I didn't even know there was an award for that. So it was very interesting. And so afterwards, that gave me some credibility behind my name, and so I was able to use that as like a jump off point to be able to do all kinds of other types of voiceover, because I wanted to be a broad range voice actor. I didn't want to just do anime. Anime is like glamorous, it's really cool, really fun. I thoroughly enjoy doing it, but I wanted to do a lot of different types of voice acting. So I did, while doing the anime stuff, I was doing and building that resume of anime characters. I was submitting to all types of other companies, and I I'd done e-learning, I'd done a lot of different things. So now I've got, if I were to read you my resume off the top of my head, I've done work with Chevrolet, Drive Time, the Home Depot, Sears, the Champion Sports, lots of different Amazon, Microsoft. I've done a lot of work for a lot.
I knew it. Because when you were talking about if I have to do a commercial about a truck and I'm speaking to you like this, I'm like, I've heard this before, and I'm here trying to picture what was the commercial. But yes, I was like, I knew it. I knew I've heard you before in commercials too.
Yeah. I've done. I did a Valvoline commercial once. I've done a lot of different things with a lot of different major companies, and so I built a pretty good portfolio of brands that trust me to do their work, and so it's been really, really good. And so I've got the voice acting stuff. These are my cards that I'll pass out if you can see that.
Oh, those are so cool.
Yeah, so this is my business card, but that's the glamorous stuff, and they're like, oh man. And but I got a funny story with that. I met last year. I was at Cook's Children's Hospital, and there was a meeting that I was having, and they said, well, the Dallas Cowboys are here. And I was like, oh, really? And so they said, they're down in the atrium area, and they're taking pictures with the kids. And I was like, oh, well, I want to go meet them. So they said, yeah, sure, go down. So I go down to meet them, and a lot of them are all huddled together. They're spread out pretty good, but a lot of them were huddled together in this one area where a bunch of the kids were, and I'm walking over to meet them, and I was like, hey guys, how y'all doing? And they all just turn around and they stare at me, right? And like I told you, I'm 6'10", but I'm not like a skinny 6'10", you know what I mean? Like I'm a pretty big guy, so they look at me, because I still look like I play football, so they looked at me and they were like just staring at me. And I already knew what they were thinking. And I said, don't worry, guys. I said, my jersey's on its way. It just hasn't got here yet. And they all started laughing. And I said, well, I said, well, no, really, I'm a voice actor. And they were like, they just kind of looked at me, and then they, started looking back off. And I said, no, seriously. So I pulled out one of those cards, and I said, yeah, well, this, because you guys don't believe me. And I handed it to him, and Malik Jefferson was the first one that looked at my card, and he said, and his eyes just got really big, and he was like, this is you. And so he starts passing the card around, and so they're looking, and they're like, oh, you did this guy. And they couldn't find out most of them are anime fans. And so I was like, see, guys, we're not that different after all. So they were like, hey, can we get a picture with you? And I was like, yes. And so they get the kids in there, and we start taking pictures together with some of the kids. And so I've got those photos, and I posted them on my social media. And so that was a lot of fun doing that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
That's why I told my friend about this, because she is a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. And
yeah?
Like, did you know they watch anime?
Yes.
Now you know.
Yeah. They're all into it. So, yeah, it's quite a few of them that are. So, yeah, they were, Tony Pollard was there. A bunch of people were there. And I was just like, yeah. So I got all these pictures with the Cowboys. But I did post it on my social media. I got to post. I'm just getting used to really, really posting on everything. So when I say everything, I mean mainly between Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm trying to get better at posting on LinkedIn and TikTok. I got a lot of stuff already out on TikTok, so I just haven't been posting much lately, but I need to do so. And I've got videos that I'm going to start bringing out on TikTok, and then I'll be translating that to my other social medias. I'm just getting my footing with all of it, but I'm posting things pretty regularly now. And I've been requested to do so by some of the fans, people that I've taught, and so they're like, can you please start posting on Twitter? And I'm like, okay, I guess so. So yeah, I'm a little old school, so it's just like tedious for me, but I'm getting better and more acclimated to it. But yeah, so anyway, that's the basically how I got started, and how things had continued and flourished. And I'm what I call a blue collar voice actor, so I do a lot of different stuff. I hit the pavement, I'm so to speak, and I work with a lot of different companies. So this is the most fun of what I do. But, I also do a lot of other fun projects, too.
And going back to the anime, when I'm kind of odd, I would say underrated character, talking about Classroom of the Elite, where you had the character of Albert Yamada.
Yamada, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. What'd you say?
I would say this character is he's kind of like the bodyguard of, at the time, Class 1C. They changed in the second season. Point is, he is always like the super reserved person who's just like, you need something done, I'm the guy. But he's such a guy of such few words. However, what was interesting about this character is that we had started talking about it backstage before we started recording, is the fact that he is Afro-Japanese. Right. And I don't know, you guys, don't quote me on this. This is from what I personally remember. Probably Mandela effect, but this is what I personally remember when I watched
Mandela effect. Okay.
Yeah. When that first episode is that they do mention that he does have American parents. That's why he's so tall, but he's like also kind of like different from everybody else. But then, Ray, you were mentioning that is a thing that people see in Japan. Like, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, you've got every culture has an African lineage, and so this is not talked about. So you've got Afro-Mexican. You have an Afro-Mexican population in Mexico that I've seen. You have Afro-Japanese, and I had never seen them, but I had heard about them. So I was like, okay, what's the deal with that? And so my brother, one of my brothers, actually, I had went and spent some time in Japan, and he met the tribe of Afro-Japanese, and so it used to be said that Africa had made two great kingdoms. One was Japan, and the other was Egypt. One was Egypt, and the other was Japan. And so it was like, okay. And so there's a whole lineage with that whole thing. It's like a whole history that's just, that a lot of people just don't know. And the Afro-Japanese, there's brown skin. It's like meeting Big Papi or some of the, so you meet some of the, the Cubans or some of the South Americans. It's like, man, they look just like me. Like my cousin. I got a cousin that's Panamanian. You figure she was, just a black woman, but she's Panamanian. So, she speaks Spanish. She understands it more than she speaks it now because she doesn't spend a lot of time speaking it, but she still has the accent. And so talking to Onyx, it's like it's kind of reminds me a lot of talking to her. Cause she's still got now. You got a different Spanish, but it's still similar. And so they it's a trip. And so they have with the Afro-Japanese, they look like me, but he wears the glasses so you never see his eyes. And their eyes, they have, I mean, my brother sent me the pictures where they have afros, they're wearing a gi, basically, you know what I mean? Like they got the Japanese, or komodo, I should say, the kimono, and brown skin, like black people, lips and all look like, and nose look like black people, but they have Asian eyes. And that's just it's kind of a weird thing to see, especially if you've never really been exposed to that before. And forgive me if I'm putting shadows all over my face, but it's like it's just a weird thing to see. So it's like, but it's very real. It's a very real thing. But yeah, there's brown skinned as me, but and I don't know about tall or whatnot. I mean, I imagine there are, but you'd be surprised. It's a lot of Afro Germans that you never hear about. Like a very famous. He is an American because he was born on a base there in Germany, but he grew up German, and that's Boris Kojo. He's a famous actor here in America, but he speaks fluent German, and he's a black man. He's lighter skinned than me, but he looks, he's about as brown. And yeah, it's like it's a trip, but it's a lot of us around the world that and they'll look or kind of have certain similarities as the peoples, but they're brown skin, so it's interesting. But yeah, but the Afro-Japanese I think is the most interesting to me because their eyes still say Japanese.
I was about to say, you just bring me the memory. I remember seeing a picture on somewhere, maybe Facebook, of a samurai Afro.
Yeah, Afro samurai. Yeah.
Afro samurai.
Well, no, you got Afro samurai. That's a different thing. But but what you're talking about is I think his name is Sasuke. Sasuke, that's his name. Sasuke. He was a real Japanese general, and he was an African that had been somehow adopted by the emperor in Japan during that time, and he became he was 6 feet tall, so he was 6 feet or 6'1", and he was a giant compared to the people there. So they made an anime about him, and it's on Netflix right now. And that's what it's called. It's called Sasuke. Yeah, it's like Sasuke, but it's let me see. He's I don't want to tell you totally wrong. Yeah, it's but it's on Netflix right now. But he is but yes, if you look up Japanese samurai, Afro samurai, not Afro samurai, but Japanese African samurai, I believe you'll find it. And there's a statue of him in Japan that the way they pay tribute to him, the respects of him. It's a statue that looked like the same armor and all that he had. His eyes are closed, but it's him. It's all black, and it looks really cool, really really cool statue of him that they built in honor of him. But yeah, he was a great warrior. He was the greatest warrior next to that was put together in amongst the samurai army, and was the right hand man to the emperor during that time. So yeah,
Yasuke.
Yasuke. Thank you. I put in the S there. I got so used to Sasuke. Yeah, Yasuke. Thank you. So yeah, he's yeah.
By the way, I'm in the.
Do you see him now?
Yes, I see him. Okay. It took me a while. I was like, it's not appearing. That I found
Okay,
Yasuke.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Or Yasuke, however you
Yasuke.
say that one.
Heads up about. I'm looking right now in the fandom page about Albert Yamada, and apparently Albert is the only character in the series that never speaks Japanese, and is only chose to speak English in the anime. That's kind of odd.
That's where because I remember they said he had American parents,
right?
Or an American parent, because I do remember that at some point.
Okay,
I'm not that wrong.
No, and they called me in to do it, so I imagine they dubbed it because they definitely did my part. But I'd have to go back and look and see what they did with that anime, because I've got a Crunchyroll account, so I'd have to go back and see and check out what they did, who else they put, and added together with that series. But yeah, that's those are some cool characters. I mean, those subdued characters and tough guys. I mean, I've played quite a few of them. Even After School Dice Club, he was a little more talkative, but he wore shades all the time, and he was, he ran this game shop that had all these board games, and so he was a similar character in that regard. And there was another one, How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift?
Yes.
And I played
Jason
Skatham, like basically. Yeah, it's basically Jason Statham, basically, the name. And then my boss is Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's like, what they call him, Arnold something else. They give him another name. They give him, but he's basically Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. So yeah, it's a trip.
To wrap it up, because the list is so long.
Oh,
One of the latest characters. No, you're great. just I'm the one who get excited talking here. What about the series? The Weakest Tamer began a journey to pick up trash with a character.
Oh yeah, The Weakest Tamer. Yeah, I know. It's like a novel as a title. I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm like, dude, just The Weakest Tamer is great. Yeah, I mean, and so like we would get the point from that, but I don't know. They got this whole thing they're doing. But yeah, The Weakest Tamer began a journey to pick up trash. All I know. Well, so yes, the character I play in that, the name escapes me at the moment. Was it
Ciel?
Ciel, yeah. It's basically a giant house cat, and not a feral cat, giant house cat. And Chris George directs me on that. I got that job because he called me to find out. He said, "Hey Ray, I want you to try something," and he brings me in. He didn't say try. That's what he's thinking, but I realized that in the aftermath, and he's like, "Yeah, well, here's this character, check it out." I said, okay. And so he's like, "Can you purr? Can you do?" I was like, "Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can." And so I go in. He's like, "Yeah, you're just purring and meowing, man." And so I don't know. He just wanted to try it. He was giving me a shot, which I appreciate because I ended up getting the gig. And so I was good. I was so good at purring and so good at meowing that, I got the gig. And he was like, "Well, yeah," he said, "Man, why didn't you tell me that you know how to do all this stuff?" I was like, "I did the auditions for this stuff, we're making frog sounds and baby noises and everything else." I said, "But nobody ever picked me up for it." That's not to mention the fact that it's not like the most, it's not the most, I said, it's not the most, at the time, like the most aggressive, I don't know, maybe the most polite thing to do, to walk up to you and say, "Hey, would you like to hear me purr?" You know what I mean? So, it's like, hey, I said, just bring your ear close, and I'll, purr for you, And so I do and he just, starts laughing, and I'm like, yeah, And so I'm doing a lot of purring and a lot of meowing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty good at it. So they like me and gave me the job. But it's just more or less knowing different tones, like doing different tones of purrs, because animals have this, it's all body language with them and sound. So how much of a purr to do versus you got the friendly purr, then you've got the I'm tired, or meow, and it's just all kinds of different stuff. You just have to know how to do it, because it's not like there's a manual. Okay, this is how you. Oh, okay, yeah, that purr. Oh, well, that meow. It's like you just got to do it on the fly. It's like, okay, this is what it sounds like. All right, now you're next, and then I do it. So.
But I must say, what happened here? One thing that's very different is that the fact that we have here Ray Hurd, a man, actually doing all these sounds, whereas in anime, it's usually a woman's job who does like these animal noises, because anime loves cat girls. So it's like, when I say woman's job, is because of this. And to then hear a man actually be like, okay, well, today you're gonna purr.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah,
that's very different. That's very different in my opinion.
Yeah, and it is very different, and I never would have thought I'd have been picked for it, but that was how it worked out. He brought me in, and I said okay, and I'll try it, or I'd do it, and then the before you know it, they he heard it, he was like, wow, you're really good at this. But yeah, it's well, like even here, when it comes down to certain things like kids, most little boys are women performers that are performing for and these are grown-ups. These aren't like I'll tell you, Danny Chambers is probably the best she's one of the best, and definitely the best that I know personally, in terms of like little bitty kids, little baby characters. She did one for an audiobook that I had done last year, and she was awesome. Like it was a 5-year-old girl, and she just she did a 5-year-old girl, and she did like a 25-year-old woman, and so for me, and she's very good. And but I've heard there are a handful of men that I know of that can do baby sounds and do those things too, and you'd be surprised. It's just more or less, and I'm appreciative of the fact that it's not like they're just saying, well, it's all women, that's it. They actually give us a chance to do this stuff, and in my case, had they not trusted me to give me the opportunity, just because I've proven that I can do some extra stuff for them, and do upper register characters, with much higher tones and sounds to their voices. I did an upper crust Englishman once, and so I had to get way up here and sound this way and get my point across, and so they were like, I remember Jeremy Emmett didn't think I could do it, and I was like, yeah, I could do it. And so we had a good laugh about it, and he was like, Ray, didn't think you could pull it off. And so but I'm like, I got you, I can do this. So yeah, there are quite a few things that if you can do it, it's good as a voice actor to have a lot of what I call tools in the toolbox. You got to have all these tools, because it's going to separate you from other people. And if you can show that you can do it, especially in a popular series, then it's like, oh, well, and now, like me, I'm the guy that they pick for the hard words, the royalty regal guys with hard speaking patterns. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. But I'm also the guy that does cat sounds. So, yeah.
And following that line, Ray, any words of advice for those who are considering joining the voice acting career or world?
Have some acting, get some acting courses under your belt. Voice lessons are important, because you do need to know, like vocal coaching is what I'm getting at. Like voice teachers like myself, it's important to come to us also, because you need to know how the world of voiceover works in terms of how to get in. But the number one thing you're going to need behind all that training is you need a demo. I can't stress how important a demo is to have. And what the training is going to do is the training is going to help you produce a really good demo. And you want to get a professionally produced demo. I was already a professional in producing demos, so when it came to me doing it, I already knew how to do it. And so everybody doesn't have that. Most people don't have those skills. So getting a professionally produced demo is paramount, because that is your resume. That's the way that people are going to judge whether or not you're going to be a good fit for them, for a company to represent them in whatever way they're looking to represent you, whether it's for anime or for any type of voice acting. Because voiceover is, look, when I first found out, I walked through the grocery store and I heard, you hear the, shop here at Albertsons, we have this new deal, ham on sale for 25 cents, so that would be great, by the way, but they have that kind of stuff, right? And I'm thinking, and then I was told, somebody got paid for that. I was like, really? That was all I needed to hear. You go through shopping departments and stores, Macy's and stuff, they'll have ads and stuff, like even on elevators every now and then, depending on which department store you're in, they're like, head down to the the jewelry department. We've got fragrances on sale and all of it right here at Macy's. And it's like, somebody got paid for that. So that was enough for me. I was like, oh, well, shoot, I need to learn how to do all this stuff. So, but demo, Paramount, and then, of course, acting courses. And I would say in this order: acting courses while working towards the demo, acting courses, and then voiceover classes. Take some of those, but definitely if you get the acting under your belt, by the time you get into the voice classes, then it's more or less, I got the tools, and now I'm learning about how to craft the talent. You know what I mean? And so I would say in that order: acting courses, voice lessons, and then get your demo ready, and you're ready to rock and roll.
Sweet. Ray, thank you so much. With social media, people should follow you. They haven't followed you yet.
Ray Hurd voice _actor. That's on just about every platform. And then if you look for Ray Hurd voice, you'll find all of my stuff anywhere. If you just type in Ray Hurd, do a Google search on Ray Hurd, all my socials are there also. But generally Ray Hurd voice _actor. You'll get everything. I'm on just about every social media. So all the primary ones anyway: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and I'm on all of those. So I'm posting things regularly.
And if that doesn't work, just go down to the description of this video, expand the description, and you will find the links right over there, easy for you with only one click, and we'll take you to Ray's social media. So we'll make it easy for you guys. Just expand, click, you're there. And for us, we all humbly ask you for subscribe, like, and share in all our social media, YouTube, which is very important for us to subscribe, like, and share on our YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, everywhere also too. And you're also fan of the Formula One, Kiara's new project, Koki Formula One, where we're discussing about technical 101 about Formula. Is Formula One an equation or a gasoline? What the heck is Formula One? Why is so many people fan of this? That's Kiara's new project at Koki F1, where you can find about what the heck is Formula One, the latest one. And we also have some live after the Grand Prix, where we talk about what happened before, during, after, those who made accident, those who are rumors for abandoning or buying new, is this a new company? All that stuff we can talk, have fun. So be part of the conversation during our life. So Ray, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks to you. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Sayonara.
Bye.
Sayonara.